This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, week number 14 in the National Football League. Denver Broncos on the road taking on the Tennessee Titans fresh off of their week 13 bye. And boy, did it come at a great time. 2 weeks to prepare for the Super Bowl defending champions. It was going to be a big test for this Titans team that was tied atop the AFC South Division with the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. One of those teams was bound to lose as those two teams were squaring off against one another. So a win by the Titans would give them a share of first place. Most likely, obviously if a tie were to occur, then that would change some things. But a win would most likely give them a share of first place in the division with one other team and get them a step closer to their ultimate goal of winning this division. And so this was a big one. At home, Super Bowl defending champions coming to your place. You're playing good football. You're playing confident football. Here's an opportunity for you to make a statement. Make your stake your claim right now that you belong in the postseason. Here's a big one. For the Denver Broncos, probably not going to win the division. After losing to the Raiders, after losing to the Chiefs, probably not going to win the division. But you still want a chance to defend your crown, and all you want to do is get in. And if that means getting the 5th seed or the 6th seed, it doesn't matter. You just want in. You just want your ticket to the dance so that you get a chance to defend your crown. Only way you're going to do that is winning down the stretch. And you got to find a way to go on the road and beat a Titans team that we're all declaring too young to know what's going on in December. They're too young to be able to figure out that they need to win this time of the season. So you need to find a way to go in there and get it done. Were they going to be able to do that? I'll talk about that here in a second. But first, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply subscribing to the Louie Tee Network on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Please like the Facebook page as well. All of my social media platforms right up in the center console above, scrolling across the screen so you don't miss them. Go ahead, take care of business. Like, follow, and most importantly, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network on YouTube. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown, and we start with the winning team in this game, Titans, getting it done 13-10 in a really fun game to watch. Defense, and more defense from both of these teams. A ton of penalties, negating some good plays, but when it was all said and done, it was about the defense. Titans getting it done on that side of the football. And as we've seen with this Titans team, when they win, fast start to games, 14-play drive right out of the gates for the Tennessee Titans, down the field, into the end zone. If there's one weakness of this Denver Broncos defense, run game. You can run on the Denver Broncos defense. This isn't like last year when they had a front that was just as solid as the linebacking core was. There's no Malik Jackson on that line. Derek Wolf's been dealing with injuries. It's not the same unit that it was last year. Sylvester Williams was playing at a high level last year. It's not the same group this year. The linebackers aren't the same. There's no Danny Trevathan in the center of that linebacking core anymore. It's a different group. You can run on the Denver Broncos. And the Titans figured that out early. They figured that out often. And it wasn't just a steady diet of your backfield of Murray and the Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry. It was also Marcus Mariota getting into the thick of things and him keeping the football and some of those read options and him using his legs to create offense for this team when he didn't like what he saw down the field. So they ran the football effectively, controlled the time of possession, dominated it in the first half. They really took it to the Denver Broncos in the first half of this game. Did a lot of the damage to the Broncos in the first half of this game. And if not for some penalties, maybe they run away with this thing. You know, if Delaney Walker doesn't have a couple of big offensive pass interferences, some OPIs, one negating a touchdown, this might be a different ball game. But bottom line is that the Titans did what they've done all season long in this game, and that's run the football, pound the rock. Marcus Mariota was not sharp throwing the football. 6 of 20 for 88 yards. Not Ullman-like work by Mariota, but what he did do was he didn't make the big mistake. The losses that they've incurred against good defensive teams this season, for the most part, have come because Mariota hasn't taken care of the football, albeit a fumble, an interception. And when he makes mistakes, they're catastrophic mistakes. They're mistakes that go to the crib, scoop and score, pick six. They're mistakes that change ball games, like against Minnesota, okay? Like we saw against San Diego. When he makes those types of mistakes, they're usually the ones that are backbreaking that cost this team opportunities to win. He did not do that. So despite 6 of 20 for 88 yards, which isn't a great day at all, he did use his legs and he did avoid the major mistake that could change the game. And we know the Broncos are prone to creating turnovers that lead to points, whether directly or indirectly. They do a great job of forcing the issue, creating turnovers. And if you're not careful, like Jacksonville found out a couple of weeks ago with the Bradley Roby pick six, they can change the game on the defensive side of the football by themselves. So Mariota did a really good job of not making that critical mistake that could cost this team. But in the same breath, Marcus Mariota does need to play better throwing the football than he did in this game if they're going to win down the stretch. But this was a big win for the Titans. Defensively, I've talked about this defense all season long and how I thought that this defense was ready. They're ready for the playoffs. I talked about this defense, and I said the only thing that makes me a little nervous is the secondary. It's a young secondary. You don't know what you're getting from week to week with that secondary, but that front seven is, in terms of, elite pass rush, I don't think they have a guy, even though Brian Orakpo notched his 10th sack of the season. I don't know if they have an elite dominant go get the quarterback type of pass rusher, but I do know that they can generate pressure. You're not running against this Titans football team. They're one of the stingiest run defenses in the league. And so they're one of those teams that their front seven just as good as anybody's in the league. They're stout up front. The back half is the question. Can they hold up back there in the secondary? They made some plays. Valentino Blake with a nice knockaway on a pass to one of the receivers. You had a nice knockaway of an Emmanuel Sanders, a deep ball that they thought was dropped. I thought it was tipped by LaShawn Sims, and that's why he didn't catch it. 2 big plays in the end zone on knockaways on the third and then on a 4th down by Denoris Searcy. So this secondary stepped up in this game, made some plays when they had to be made, and this defense creating some opportunities late, especially with that forced turnover at the end to secure this victory. Avery Williamson getting his hands in a cookie jar, ripping the football out of A.J. Derby's hands and recovered by the Titans. They forced a fumble of Forsett earlier in the game. That led to a field goal to make it 10-0. They did a job on this Denver Broncos offense, did the Titans defensively, and that was the reason that they won this game. They got it done defensively. They got it done on special teams, making their field goals, and they punted the football well, pinning the Broncos deep in their own territory a couple of times, making them have to go the length of the field to try to go and get points. They did a really good job of winning the field position battle. They did a great job of time of possession. All of the things that the Titans need to do to win, they did it in this game, created some turnovers, had some costly penalties, but were able to overcome them and win this football game by winning the turnover margin. And I talked about that at the top of this breakdown. Mariota has been prone to making those mistakes that cost his team. He did not do that in this game. They avoided the mistakes. They created 2 turnovers of their own, and that was the difference in this game. 13-10, the Titans get it done. I did not see this coming. I thought they had a shot, but I did not expect them to be able to beat the Denver Broncos. This is a big statement for the Tennessee Titans. I thought they were a year away maybe they're not a year away. Maybe this is the first year that Mariota and maybe Winston as well, those two quarterbacks at the top of that 2015 draft, maybe both of them are ready to take their teams to the postseason. We will see. Both of them are making one hell of a push currently in their respective conferences. Mariota, again, not sharp throwing the football, but didn't make that egregious mistake that cost his team like he's done in the past. And he used his legs to help his team get a W. Big win for the Titans. Defensively getting it done, special teams getting it done, and doing just enough on the offensive side of the football. Murray with 92 yards, continuing to run the football physically. Henry coming in and spelling him and doing a little something there. And then Mariota using his legs. And one more thing on the Harry Douglas cut block. Was it dirty? Maybe. Was it necessary? No. But was it legal? Sure it was. So while Aqib Talib does have a case there, if you're going to stand up for your teammate, you do it on the exact same play where it takes place. You don't come back on the very next snap and decide I'm going to get his ass now. So that's the only thing I have. You see the cut block take place, you go after him right then and there. It's almost like a heat of the passion crime. You know, you lose your sanity for a second, and you can use that as a defense. But if you walk away and go and get your gun and come back 2 hours later and shoot someone, you can't claim that I lost my mind for a second and it was a heat of the passion crime. Same thing here applies for me. If you see him cut him, you see your guy on the ground writhing in pain and you think it's a dirty play, you go and you react now. You don't react on the next play and cause a brouhaha. But in any event, I know where Aqib Talib is coming from, and I know where Harry Douglas is coming from. So with that being said, let's talk about the Broncos not getting it done in this game. They dropped to 8-5, and they're losing their grip on a playoff spot. Dolphins get it done, but they have some bad news leaving their game, so that may be beneficial to the Denver Broncos. But forget about anybody else. It's all about the Broncos right now. If you're going to get into the postseason, you're going to have to take care of business. You can't worry about what anybody else is doing. And in this game, too many mistakes by the Broncos to win on the road against a game and ready Tennessee Titans football team. I thought Trevor Siemian was outstanding in this game. 35 of 51, 300 and some odd yards. He didn't make any mistakes throwing the football, threw for a touchdown. I thought for a guy that came into this game nursing some injuries and you didn't know all week was he going to play or not, I thought he showed up and he was ready. He was game. He gave the Broncos a chance in this game. I thought he played exceptionally well, put some balls on the money. I thought the Titans made some really good plays on some of the passes that he threw. But all in all, I thought he gave them a shot to win this game. And I thought some of the players around him let him down in this football game with some drops and some guys not making some plays and the fumbles. I thought these were all reasons why they weren't able to get it done. Too many penalties in some key spots. You get Justin Forsett for a big run down the sidelines, and Matt Paredes is called for holding, and it comes back. You can't have those types of mistakes. You're backed up deep in your own territory. You get a nice little completion, and you got a penalty. These are the types of mistakes that are going to haunt you and force you to have to punt the football, and it's not going to allow you to get into an offensive rhythm. Defensively, you don't get stops. You don't stop the Titans from bleeding the clock by running the football. Those are all issues for you if you're the Denver Broncos. But like I said, Siemian thought he played a whale of a ball game. I think there's no balance on this Denver Broncos team whatsoever. In a game that ends in 13-10, there's no way your quarterback should be throwing it 51 times. That's a pace game. That's a grinded out game. It's December. You're on the road. You should be able to run the football and keep some semblance of balance. If Siemian's going to throw it 35 times, so be it. But 51 in a game that's 13-10, you would have thought you were down 30-10 instead of 13-10 in this game. There's no way he should be throwing it 51 times. And I get it. The Titans stopped the run. It's like running and banging your head against a brick wall. But there were some runs in this game where you had success. The Forsett fumble play, good run. The Forsett run down the sidelines, good run. Called back by a penalty. I get it. I understand that passing is probably the best way to take advantage of this Titans defense, but you also need to keep a semblance of balance, at least a shred of it. And I didn't think that was the case in this game, but make no mistake about it. The Broncos had ample opportunities to get it done in this game, and they just didn't. Whether it be penalties, turnovers, the Titans struggled in the second half to get anything going. And you had opportunities with the football, some great field position, and you just failed to take advantage of any opportunities. You get a nice little punt return from Raymond, and then you get 15 tacked onto it. You got to find a way to get a touchdown there. You can't settle for a field goal and cut it to 13-10. You got to get 7 there. You got to go up and get a touchdown when you're down there and not settle for a field goal. And you did. They made some good plays. Give the Titans some credit. They made plays. They sacked Simeon. They hurried Simeon. But there were opportunities in this game, and they just weren't made. Okay? They weren't made. I thought there was a chance for Benny Fowler to make a catch in the end zone, and he didn't. There are opportunities in this game, and the Broncos just didn't get it done. And hats off to the Tennessee Titans. This Denver Broncos team, when they're not winning special teams, when they're not generating turnovers, they can be beaten because you can run on this Denver Broncos football team. You might not be able to throw with great efficiency as we saw with Mariota and his numbers on the day, but you can run on this Denver Broncos defense. In this time of the year, if you can run the football, you can have some success, and that's why the Titans were able to win this football game. That and the fact that they were able to create 2 turnovers, none bigger than the one at the very end of the game. A.J. Derby has to hold on to that football. You're on the move with the chance to, at worst, tie the game, possibly get the game-winning score, and he costs it up. Great play by Avery Williamson to stick his hand in the cookie jar and come out with a cookie, but at the same time, you know that they're coming looking to come and get the goods. You got to protect it. And he didn't, and that proved to be the ball game there. Denver Broncos struggling right now offensively. We've seen this team defensively do some good things. They struggled last week versus Jacksonville. Understood that you had a rookie quarterback, but that carried over into this game. You struggled again on the road against an AFC South opponent to score. Last week you did enough, 20-10. This week you didn't do enough against a Titans team that is much better than Jacksonville, only able to muster 10 points, not good enough to win in this league. And so you drop to 8-5 in arguably the toughest division in all of football. Now the division is out of question. You're not going to get that, and you probably weren't even going to get it with a win here. But now with a loss, that's definitely out the window. The question is, can you even make the postseason? Okay, can you get a chance to defend your crown? Don't know if that's going to happen if you continue to play lackluster football like this on the road, because you've got some toughies coming up. It doesn't get much easier for you. You got a big showdown with New England next week. After that, you still got matchups in the division versus Oakland and Kansas City. You're at Kansas City on Christmas night, and you're home for Oakland to wrap up the season. Those are crucial games for you. Don't know what it's going to mean for those other 2 teams. Doesn't matter at this point. You've got some big ball games left, and you're going to have to play much better than you have over the last month, or else you'll be at home watching the playoffs with the rest of us while all these other teams are vying, fighting, and scrapping for what you feel like is yours. And that's the Lombardi Trophy. You better tighten up, especially on the offensive side. This defense, they did enough in this game. Okay, they gave up 13 points. You're supposed to win 10 times out of 10 if you surrender 13 points in this league. And it wasn't enough because the offense was only able to muster 10. Gonna have to be better. Gonna have to be much better if you're gonna win and make the postseason if you're the Denver Broncos. Let's jump into some of your comments. Big win for the Titans as they get to 7-6, have a share of first place with the Houston Texans. And like I said, when it's all said and done, the Titans, the way they play defense, they're going to be in the discussion at the end of the season. And it's going to come down to Week 17 home versus the Texans. You win that game, you win this division, you go into the playoffs. I think that's what it's all going to boil down to when it's all said and done. Another big matchup in that division next week. You're going on the road this time to take on Kansas City. You win that game, and I don't know, you may sway me into believing that you could actually win this division. I'm still thinking the Texans are going to win, but I'm telling you right now, you beat Denver, anything's possible. Chiefs on the road in Arrowhead, they're not invincible. Seen Tampa Bay go there and beat them just a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so. It's possible. And the way you play defense and the Chiefs don't score a ton of points, you could eke out another one of these 13-10 W's. Wow, that would be impressive. We'll see what happens. Let's get to some of your comments, though. All right. Andrew Kim says, do you see the Broncos not making the playoffs? I think the AFC wildcard is pretty open compared to a couple of weeks ago. It's possible. I still think they get in. With the Dolphins' injury to Tannehill, I think that really gives them a break. If Tannehill was healthy, the Dolphins might have had the inside track to get in that sixth and final berth in the AFC playoffs. But because of the injury to Tannehill, I think that's going to hurt the Miami Dolphins' chances. And I don't really see anybody else. Now, again, let's not forget about the AFC North because, like you said, a couple of weeks ago, it looked like that was a one-bid division. All of a sudden now the Ravens and the Steelers, they're refusing to lose. And if the Ravens somehow go to Foxborough and win, and those two teams are at 8-5, all of a sudden now, I'm just saying, maybe you can sneak in a second team from the AFC North. So things are tightening up in the AFC wildcard chase. And I do think the Broncos I still think they have a great shot at making it, but they're making it tough on themselves with the way they've been playing football over the last month or so. First name, last name says, was the hit legal? It was. It wasn't legal. I mean, it wasn't illegal. Was it a little dirty? Maybe. Was it necessary? And that's the biggest part for me. Was it necessary? No. Okay. The corner wasn't going to have a shot at getting into play, and the run was almost done. The play was almost done. For him to go down and cut him in that situation, unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. And to me, that's the biggest part in all of this. If that's a block that's going to spring your running back, so be it. Do what you got to do. But the play was basically dead. That player had no intentions of getting into the play. Why? What are you doing? Why? What are we doing here? I mean, it was so unnecessary. But yes, it was a legal hit. Jake Butler says, what do you think of the rookie Kevin Byard? He's really starting to show that he's a legitimate safety in the NFL. Had a couple of pressures on the QB and played well in coverage. He's been coming on over the last month and a half. I'd say the last 6 games or so. He's really starting to get comfortable. They're blitzing him more. He's starting to make plays. He's coming up. He's tackling much better than he was earlier in the season. I love Kevin Byard. And I think this is a guy, like I talked about with this secondary, that's starting to come along. You know, you're starting to see guys making some plays. He's another one of those young guys stepping up in that Titans secondary that was really sketchy earlier in the season. Still have my doubts about that secondary, but they're playing much better. I talked about some of the plays some of these young guys made. Valentino Blake made a play. LaShawn Sims made a play. Kevin Byard continues to play good football. The pieces are starting to fall into place. We know about the front seven. Can the back end match the intensity and the toughness that the front seven is bringing week in and week out? We're starting to see a little bit of that. And Kevin Byard is one of those guys that brings intensity week in and week out. Andrew Kim says, what an improvement from last year for the Titans, winning 3 games last year too in the playoff hunt and could win the AFC South. Rooting for them. Man, I underestimated them so much because I didn't think their defense would be this good this fast. I knew the defense was building and they had some pieces and I knew they could run the football, but I didn't know if they would stick to it because you know how this league is. Everybody claims they want to commit to the run, but then when you look at their final stats, their running back has 16 carries and they threw it 37 times. That's not the Titans. They're not doing that. And I'm proud of them for sticking to what works, which is running the football and playing defense. And this defense has gotten better so quickly. There was no Jarrell Casey in this game. And they dominated defensively. They dominated. Yeah, they gave up 300 yards passing. But they only gave up 10 points. I don't give a damn about yards. See, that's the thing where the NFL gets it wrong when they rank defenses and they tell you, oh, this team is the number 1 rated defense in the league. Yeah, but they're giving up 24 points a game. Who gives a damn? You can give up 311 yards a game and be ranked number 1, 289 yards a game and be ranked number 1 in total defense. How many points you giving up a game, huh? That's what I want to know. Because that's the stat that does it for me. You can go 20-20 all you like. If you're not getting in the end zone, who cares? And they gave up some yards to the Broncos, but they didn't let them in the end zone. And that's why they won this game. It's amazing. This Titans defense is so much better than I thought they would be at this point in the season. And it's part of the reason why they are where they are right now at 7-6. And Mariota making improvements not turning the football over. That is also something that can't be understated. If he turns it over, they lose. When he doesn't, they have a great chance of winning each and every single week. Kyle G says, tighten up. I hear that, man. Enrique Valencia says, was Marcus as bad as the stat line? Not necessarily. I thought he used his legs extremely well. The 6 of 20 for 88 yards. Some of that was, Marcus was off. He missed some guys that were open on some out cuts. But there were some plays there that were called back because of penalties that he did complete. And then you had some situations where he just threw the football away, which is smart. At least 3 or 4 of those incompletions, him rolling out of the pocket, nothing down the field, and him throwing the football away. That's smart football. You know what I mean? It doesn't look good on the stat sheet, but that's smart football. You live to fight another day. Instead of forcing it like he would do earlier in the season and throwing a pick, he's throwing it out of bounds, and that's the smart thing and the right thing to do. So no, the stat line doesn't do him any justice, and he used his legs extremely well to help his team in this game. So no, the stat line isn't indicative of the game played by Marcus Mariota in this game. Andrew Kim says, not relevant to this game, but it's official. DeShone Kizer announced he's entering the draft this year. Good for him. In a weak draft class in terms of quarterbacks, he was smart to come out. It's probably going to allow him to be a first-round pick when in another year he probably wouldn't be a first-round pick. Jake Butler says, with this win, the Titans are in the thick of things in the playoff hunt. Do you think the Titans can win this division with the Texans playing so inconsistently with Brock Osweiler? Anything's possible. I've told you that numerous times. The Colts can still win this division. It's that wide open in the AFC South. Bottom line is, if the Titans are going to win this division, it's going to come down to week 17. It'd be nice if they won next week at Kansas City. Most likely not going to happen. But if you take care of business the following week, and I believe that's against Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken, you take care of your business the following week, then guess what? You have yourself a showdown for the division in week 17 versus the Houston Texans. Just take care of business. Just find ways to win, and it'll sort itself out. They got as good a shot as anybody right now to win that division. And so they're right where they want to be. They've got a shot. They got to take care of business. Jake Butler says, Titans defense comes up huge this game. Do you think the defense can be more consistent forcing turnovers in the future? Absolutely. Because they're looking for turnovers. The good defenses in the league look for turnover opportunities. At the end of the game, Avery Williamson sticking his hand in the cookie jar and violently coming with that lawnmower strip, ripping it out of there and forcing that turnover. That's the team aware of the situation, looking for a turnover. The fumble forced by one of the Titans earlier in the game versus Forsett, looking for a turnover. That's what the good teams do. They look for opportunities to create turnovers. Titans looking for that now. And the more turnovers you create, the more you start looking for them, the more they start to come. So it's an art, forcing turnovers, believe it or not. And the Titans are starting to get that down pat. They're forcing the issue and giving themselves a chance. Rashad Hunt says, given the Broncos' tough final 3 games and the bad news in Miami, can the Titans possibly steal that last wild card spot? They own the tiebreaker over Denver and Miami. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but what you have to keep your eye on now is the fact that you've got, though, if something goes awry with the Dolphins due to the injury and with the Broncos because of the tough schedule, now you're letting other teams, don't forget about Pittsburgh and Baltimore over there sitting at 8-5, the Steelers are, and the Ravens with a chance on Monday night to get to 8-5. Don't forget about those teams who still have a shot as well to improve their stock and have a shot at a wild card. So it's not just the Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins, and the Titans, and whomever else wants to throw their name in the hat. You still got those teams up north battling for a chance to get into the postseason, and both of them sitting at 8-5 right now, or 7-5 and 8-5 respectively. So they're in the mix as well. So we'll see what happens. But if Denver falters, and I think Miami could falter, we'll see what happens. I don't know what their schedule looks like. They may be able to get by with Matt Moore. If you're playing the Jets and the Bills, you got a shot. So, and I know they got the Dolphins, the Patriots, the final week of the season, but they may have a shot. It just depends. Matt Moore is no slob, no slouch. He's done this before. They may not be dead. So I don't want to count the Dolphins out, but yeah, Like my man AK Andrew Kim said earlier, this wild card is wide open now. Where about a month ago it looked like, okay, both wild cards are coming out of the AFC West. All of a sudden now the door is wide open. The door is open and anybody can go in. Ravens, Steelers, Titans, Texans. Hell, the door is open for a number of teams. Dolphins, Broncos. It's open for anybody that wants to get that 6th seed. So if you want to eliminate the heartache of worrying about tiebreakers and this, that, and the third, if you're the Titans, just go and win the division. Don't leave it to chance. Go win the division. Because if you don't win the division and now you're counting on tiebreakers and this, that, and the third and head-to-head matchups and common opponents and the record versus like opponents, and then you get into all of these different tiebreakers, your chances of making it, they shrink exponentially. So just take care of business if you're the Tennessee Titans. But big win for the Titans at the crib versus the Super Bowl defending champions, 13-10. Titans get to 7-6, get a share of first place with the Texans, both at 7-6 currently. Big win. Titans playing outstanding football, coming off the bye, finding a way to get it done, generating turnovers, and getting the win. Meanwhile, for the Broncos, they dropped to 8-5. They're on the outside looking in of the playoffs once again with the Dolphins winning at home versus Arizona. So a lot of questions for this Broncos team. Can they stop the run consistently? Can they score more points offensively? Can they figure out some things in time enough to turn this thing around and get into the postseason and have an opportunity to defend their championship? Or will they run out of time? They don't have offense right now. They're not scoring enough points. And defensively, they're not stopping the run consistently. Is that going to be their undoing in the 2016 season? We will see. It's going to do it for me here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I got more breakdowns to come, including Chargers on the road taking on the Panthers. I'll be back with that and more from Week 14 in the National Football League. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you next time. Stick around. I'll be back. Have a good one.